Barnes told me twice that his mother can't stand me. She thinks that I'm a flake.
Sitcoms shaped our humor and brought familiar faces into our homes for decades. But a handful of characters sparked debates, outrage, or even TV history rewrites. Here are the 10 most controversial sitcom characters ever, counted down to the most infamous of all. Number 1. J.J. Evans from Good Times. Let's go back to the living rooms of the mid-1970s, where one infectious catchphrase echoed from TV sets across America. Dynamite. J.J. Evans, played by Jimmy Walker, wasn't just the breakout star of Good Times, he was a full-blown phenomenon. Armed with an oversized personality and explosive comedic timing, J.J. quickly became the center of attention on the CBS sitcom, which first aired in 1974. But beneath the laughter, trouble was brewing. Critics and even some of J.J.'s fellow cast members, including Esther Rolle and John Amos, grew uneasy about the character. They worried that J.J.'s exaggerated antics and comedic buffoonery, widely loved by audiences, leaned into harmful stereotypes about black families and overshadowed the show's roots in real-life struggle and dignity. Off-camera, this tension built into heated arguments between actors and producers. Walker was caught in the crossfire, called both a star and a sellout. The controversy wasn't just about one actor. It reflected a nation wrestling with its own prejudices and expectations. By the late 1970s, the debates around J.J. Evans transformed him into the very symbol of how sitcoms tried, failed, and sometimes succeeded in tackling social issues. Flickering in black and white, J.J.'s grin is still a reminder that laughter and discomfort sometimes come in the same familiar package. Number 2. Maude Finlay from Maude. The laughter came tinged with shock whenever Maude Finlay appeared on screen. With her quick wit, biting sarcasm, and unflinching moral compass, Maude, played brilliantly by B. Arthur, was unlike any TV heroine that came before her. In 1972, Maude burst onto CBS, with Norman Lear at the helm, and almost overnight, America's dinner conversations got louder. Maude tackled issues most shows wouldn't touch: abortion, feminism, civil rights, and what it meant to be an outspoken woman in a changing world. When Maude's character underwent an abortion in the two-part episode Maude's Dilemma in 1972, the fallout was immediate. Boycotts hit the network. Letters, over 40,000, poured in, both supporting and denouncing CBS. Religious groups and community leaders called for the show's cancellation, yet viewers tuned in week after week to see what boundary Maude would push next. In her flared pantsuits and bold blouses, Maude challenged the norms of housewives and matriarchs that TV usually offered. She stood as an unapologetic force for progress. The show ran until 1978, never shying away from sparking debate. Maude Finlay helped change the rules for women on prime time, leaving a legacy still felt in sitcoms today. Sometimes the catalyst for social change comes not from a politician or protest, but from a woman with a sharp tongue, a passionate heart, and a seat at your family's living room each week. Number 3. Kramer from Seinfeld. A wild burst through Jerry's apartment door, a towering shock of hair, and a repertoire of slapstick that belonged on a vaudeville stage. Kramer was much more than just a neighbor. Played by Michael Richards, this Seinfeld character redefined sitcom weirdness. Through the 9 seasons that aired on NBC from 1989 to 1998, Kramer became iconic for his erratic entrances, bizarre business schemes, and relentless physical comedy. He had catchphrases, a cult of impersonators, and a wardrobe that screamed vintage New York oddball. For years, fans loved to quote his lines and mimic his strut. But in 2006, a shocking off-stage moment changed everything. Richards, during a stand-up set at the Laugh Factory, hurled racist slurs at audience members, and the video quickly circulated. Suddenly, Kramer's legacy was entangled with the actor's real-life actions. Viewers grappled with how to separate or reconcile the beloved character from Richards' racist tirade. It sparked a national conversation that went far beyond Seinfeld reruns. How do we regard a character who, through no fault of his own, is overshadowed by the actor behind him? Now, whenever those trademark sliding door entrances replay on television, there's a faint echo of what happened off-screen, a reminder that laughter sometimes carries a complicated aftertaste. But for many, the magic of Kramer survives, refracted through countless reruns tinged with the complexity of remembering the full story. Number 4. Karen Walker from Will and Grace. The shrill pop of martini glasses and the swirl of designer scarves. Nothing quite captured the late 90s sitcom energy like Megan Mullally's Karen Walker. Week after week on NBC's Will and Grace, Karen was a parade of booze-fueled barbs, cutting straight through social niceties with the kind of one-liner you'd remember for days. Premiering in 1998, Will and Grace charged into American living rooms with a bold, LGBTQ-led ensemble. But it was Karen who embodied the show's most dangerous wit. Her persona, equal parts unfiltered opulence and clueless privilege, had viewers howling and critics raising eyebrows. Was she a send-up of insensitive rich women, or did some of her jokes drift too far into the realm of stereotype? All the while, debates swirled about how LGBTQ+ identities and their allies were being shaped and shown on primetime television. Yet Karen's absurd charm and Mullally's sheer commitment made her a sensation. The show even sparked a major revival in 2017, but Karen's sharp edges were always the subject of heated water cooler talk. Blunt, campy, and somehow lovable in spite of her flaws, Karen Walker remains one of the sitcom's great lightning rods, her laughter echoing in the living room long after the credits roll. And as we press forward, her legacy prompts us to ask just where the line between bold comedy and biting insult should be drawn. Number 5. Archie Bunker from All in the Family. There was no mistaking Archie Bunker's gruff voice or his worn armchair in the Bunker family's Queens living room. Played by Carol O'Connor, Archie stormed through CBS's All in the Family in 1971, becoming America's most infamous TV bigot. Norman Lear wrote Archie as a living satire, a blue-collar father whose blunt rants laid bare the prejudices running through everyday America. Instead of glossing over real-world division, Lear's show dropped it right in the middle of prime time, with Archie spouting off about race, gender, and change, using language that often made audiences squirm. But for every viewer who saw Archie as a cautionary tale, there were some who saw him as a hero. Critics questioned whether Lear's biting humor was highlighting bigotry or accidentally giving it a national stage. Still, Archie felt undeniably real, a guy you almost recognized from your own family get-togethers. O'Connor won 4 Emmy Awards for the role, powering the show to the top of the Nielsen ratings in 1972, and setting the stage for sitcoms that tackled real-world controversy head-on. Today, those arguments echo any time social issues flare up on TV. Archie's chair now sits in the Smithsonian, but his legacy lives on, reminding us how a sitcom could shake the nation just by sharing what you might hear across the kitchen table. Let's pause for a second. Did you know someone like Archie in your own life? Or did this character challenge your thinking? Share your funniest or most heated Archie Bunker memory in the comments below. Number 6. Michael Scott from The Office.
It's Michael. Help me. I need help right now.
Michael, what's wrong?
I'm hurt. I have hurt myself.
Few sitcom characters are as instantly recognizable, or as divisive, as Michael Scott. Played by Steve Carell on NBC's The Office from 2005 to 2013, Michael became the living embodiment of the world's most cringe-worthy boss. He bumbled into meetings with cringe-inducing jokes and an unfiltered management style that had viewers recoiling one moment and laughing out loud the next. Whether it was the infamous Diversity Day seminar or his tone-deaf catchphrase, Steve Carell's portrayal never shied away from the edge. The show dared to ask what happens when a boss crosses all the wrong boundaries, sparking endless debates about where comedy should or shouldn't go. For some, Michael's jokes were an unforgivable throwback to a less sensitive era. For others, his blunders shined a lamp on the absurdities of real-life office culture. Peacock and NBC both received floods of feedback after certain episodes, as scenes veered into territory audiences found uncomfortable or downright offensive. Yet The Office didn't back down. It carved out a space for conversation about power, awkwardness, and human folly. When Michael bid farewell in Season 7, many viewers actually missed that tightrope act between laughter and outrage. The paper company may have been fictional, but Michael Scott's impact on workplace comedy and America's water cooler debates is forever real. Next, we meet another legend who walked the line between laughter and discomfort. Number 7. Roseanne Connor from Roseanne.
Oh, you got it, baby.
Oh, yeah, not for the indestructible Dan Connor. Drinker, biker, party boy right from the 60s.
The kitchen table was cluttered, the air thick with sarcasm, and at its center sat Roseanne Connor, blue-collar matriarch, truth-teller, and lightning rod. When Roseanne debuted in 1988 on ABC, Roseanne Barr's honest portrayal of a working-class mom felt both revolutionary and dangerously real. The character pulled back the curtain on subjects rarely addressed on prime time, from paycheck to paycheck survival to raw discussions about domestic strife and discrimination. In a landscape awash with shiny sitcom families, Roseanne Connor's plain-spoken grit gave voice to millions who rarely saw themselves reflected on TV. Controversy wasn't just scripted. Roseanne Barr brought the same unfiltered spirit off-screen. Her public persona, opinionated, political, often brash, blurred with her character, stoking national debate. That line fully snapped in 2018 when Barr's real-life racist tweet led to her abrupt firing and the show's temporary cancellation. ABC made the rare decision to reboot as the Connors, severing ties with its original star to salvage a legacy and a fan base deeply invested in the fictional Lanford family's fate. Roseanne Connor reminds us that sitcoms aren't always safe or predictable. Sometimes they stir up honest, uncomfortable conversations about who gets heard and who gets left out. The echoes of her laughter and outrage linger, daring us to ask what we want from truth on TV. Number 8. Denise Huxtable from The Cosby Show.
You see, you can dish it out, but you can't take it. Now, that's the best conversation that dining room has seen in years. I'm going back in there, and you are coming with me, so you just be cool.
Silky scarves, half-button shirts, and an attitude that was equal parts dreamy and defiant. Denise Huxtable was the cool older sister you wished you had, and your parents maybe dreaded. When The Cosby Show premiered on NBC in 1984, Denise, played by Lisa Bonet, instantly stood out in the Huxtable household. She questioned rules, skipped out on traditions, and spun her own path, a breath of teenage rebellion on a set usually packed with sitcom morality. For a generation of viewers, this felt daring, almost radical. TV teens usually mouthed off, but Denise made it look soulful, genuine, and sometimes messy. But Denise's real-life counterpart, Lisa Bonet, ignited even more conversation behind the scenes. Creative tension with producers brewed as Bonet pushed for more autonomy. The real rupture came in 1987, after her audacious role in the film Angel Heart, which included scenes too provocative for her sitcom image. The result? Denise was abruptly written out and later given her own spin-off, A Different World, only to vanish again after the first season. Denise's disappearance became a flashpoint in that decade's debate about who gets to tell young women's stories and on whose terms. Kids saw her as a role model. Parents and industry gatekeepers saw something less comfortable, a mirror reflecting change. And as the Huxtable living room door quietly closed behind her, you felt the shift. The end of an era where TV daughters were always expected to fall quietly into line. Number 9. Steve Urkel from Family Matters.
Wow, are you wearing a bra?
Suspenders snapping, voice cracking, and cheese obsession. Steve Urkel stormed onto Family Matters in 1989 as a guest star, but took over by season 2, changing the entire vibe of the Winslow household. Played by Jaleel White, Urkel wasn't just another sitcom neighbor. He became a cultural phenomenon almost overnight, blaring out catchphrases like, "Did I do that?" and tipping over furniture in his quest for Laura's affection. With every pratfall, ratings soared, and Urkel mania gripped the living room. But not everyone cheered. For parents and old fans who tuned in for the Winslow family's everyday highs and lows, the pivot to Urkel's slapstick antics felt like a betrayal of the show's original heart. Cast members even spoke out on how the series slowly turned from ensemble family comedy to a near-cartoon orbiting Urkel's universe. Yet there was an odd magic to it all. The show climbed to ABC's Friday night primetime, and for a while nothing said TGIF like Urkel's polka dot shirts. An entire generation can still hear the squeak of his shoes on those kitchen tiles and picture the Winslows' exasperated stares. From wholesome family lessons to wild sci-fi inventions like the Urkelbot, the show's shift remains one of the boldest, most controversial pivots in sitcom history. And as television changed, so did we, forever remembering the moment one nerd redefined what it meant to be the star of the show. Number 10. Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch.
No, I'm real good at ketchup. You gotta hit the bottom real hard, like this.
A mop of blonde hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and an almost suspicious amount of pluck. Cousin Oliver arrived practically out of nowhere on the Brady Bunch in 1974. The show's creators introduced him in season 5, hoping this chipper, precocious kid would jolt new energy into the sunny but aging sitcom. Played by Robbie Rist, Oliver was Carol and Mike's nephew, dropped off permanently to join the already boisterous bunch. But something didn't click. Loyal viewers rolled their eyes at the blatant attempt to recapture the magic of the early Brady years. Kids saw through it, too. You could tell Oliver wasn't part of the original clan, and that made every episode feel a little forced, a little less authentic. Ratings didn't climb, and the experiment fizzled. Within just 6 episodes, Cousin Oliver was quietly written away, leaving behind a legacy no one expected. He became the textbook case of a jumping the shark moment, a warning to sitcoms everywhere about what happens when you try too hard to recreate lightning in a bottle. Decades later, say Cousin Oliver in any TV writer's room, and people still wince. The Brady house went back to being just a little less crowded, the echo of forced laughter and bowl haircuts fading into the retro wallpaper. But that feeling of something not quite fitting in lingers for anyone who remembers Oliver's too brief stay.